6th, 2026 at 9 a.m. I will call this meeting to order and ask for a roll call and compliance with the Nevada open meeting law.
Member Becker, Chair Black,
Here.
Member Bond, Member Bruni, Member Gallo,
Here.
Member Hardy,
Here.
Member Kirkpatrick, Member Larson, Member Nemec,
Here.
Member Nielsen, and Member Summers Armstrong.
Present.
We do have quorum.
Thank you so much. If you will all be so kind to stand if you can and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you so much. Before we go into item number 3, the recognitions, I just want to take a moment on behalf of the entire Board of Health, Dr. Lockett and his awesome team here at the Health District to thank those that joined us on Tuesday, and thank you for your patience and understanding. We had some capacity challenges as well as some technical issues with the getting it out to folks that weren't in the room. So I just want to say thank you for the patience. That was an amazing crowd of people that came out to listen, to learn, and to share their thoughts and concerns. So I just wanted to express on behalf of the board. And having said that, I know that there are individuals in the audience here today that are here regarding that same topic of the ISDS regulation proposals. There was a press release that was sent out yesterday from the Health District, and if you haven't read that, seen it, I'm going to read that to you today just to help add a layer of context and clarification for the information that's being considered. The intent of the proposed updates to modernize 17-year-old regulations, clarify standards, and strengthen groundwater protections as Clark County continues to grow. The Southern Nevada Health District has heard clearly from residents regarding the proposed updates to septic regulations. After approximately 1,000 community members attended a recent public meeting, the meeting was postponed to allow for additional review and community discussion. We appreciate the strong community engagement and want to clarify what was proposed and how we are moving forward. So what is being proposed? No new permits will be required for existing septic owners. No new fees will be charged to current septic owners. Permit renewal requirements will apply only to newly constructed septic systems and systems which require a construction permit. A simple notification within 30 days of the sale of a property with a septic system is needed to update records to reflect the new owner and send educational materials on maintaining a healthy septic system at no cost to the owner. Clarification of common misconceptions about the proposed regulations. Rural communities and properties served by domestic wells are not subjected to connection requirements. The proposed regulations will not impact or revoke water rights. The Health District does not determine or enforce sewer connection requirements. Those decisions are made by the appropriate local jurisdiction. Existing residential septic systems are not required to connect to sewer solely because of these proposed updated regulations. As with the current regulations, existing operating permits remain valid unless a system fails or sewer infrastructure becomes available and connection is legally required by the appropriate sewer authority, which is not the Health District. Based on substantial public feedback, the Health District is refining the proposal and moving forward with only with the appropriate, clearly supported sections of the regulation. No action is being taken that would financially burden existing residential septic owners. For rural septic system owners, so if any of you are here and this applies to you, if your system is working properly, you are not required to replace it, upgrade it, or connect to sewer under the proposed updates. For rural homeowners who rely on a domestic well or who do not have access to a municipal sewer system, including communities such as Moapa, Bunkerville, Sandy Valley, and Mount Charleston, the proposed updates will not take away your well, restrict your water use, or impose the 400-foot sewer connection requirement under the Health District septic regulations. The Health District will continue to review community input and technical data as the regulatory process moves forward. We recognize the importance of getting this right. I've stated that at each meeting for the last 4 months. We're committed to this process and we're committed to get this right. Septic systems are a significant investment for homeowners especially in rural communities. Our goal is to protect groundwater and public health without placing unexpected burdens on existing homeowners. Our commitment remains the same, to protect public health while engaging with the community we serve. So I'm very hopeful that that adds an adequate amount of clarification for the concerns that are present. We will continue this process forward. And thanks again for being here and for your patience and your engagement. Okay, thank you. With that, we will go to item number 3 on our agenda, which is recognitions. Hey, Nancy, when did you sneak in? Good to see you. I'm just kidding. We have some, pardon? So there will be a public, there is information there. No, hold on. Okay, so the information is available. Now we're moving to the agenda. There will be a public comment opportunity for you to stand and speak. So that will be your opportunity. But the short answer is yes. What I said will be documented in the regulations. So, oh, a copy of what I said? Oh, yeah, the press release? Oh, certainly. Before you leave, I'll have you a copy. Thank you. Okay. So we're going to move. It's on the website, but if we can print you a copy. She's going to print some. So yes, if you want a copy, there will be copies available. Thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. We'd love you to leave with that in your hand so you can review it. Thank you. Okay, can we recognize our awesome employees? All right, let's do it. Okay, so wow, you guys are recognizing them before we know what we're recognizing them for. That's awesome. So we would like to recognize Mr. Vivek Raman for co-authoring the published article, The Expansion of the Yellow Fever Mosquito, Aedes aegypti, and Evidence of its...
Apologies, Chair Black. Sorry. We just have to check because we don't believe the cameras in the room are working.
Okay.
So if we can pause for just 1 second.
I need a drink of water anyway. Thank you. Oh, no worries. So I'll start from the top. We would like to recognize Vivek Raman for co-authoring the published article, The Expansion of the Yellow Fever Mosquito, Aedes aegypti, and Evidence of its Establishment in the Las Vegas metropolitan area in Oxford University Press on behalf of the Entomological Society of America. The study highlights the need for effective vector control measures and public health strategies to mitigate the growing risk of vector-borne diseases in Las Vegas and other urban areas experiencing similar introductions of Aedes aegypti. On behalf of the Health District and the Board of Health, and for those of you that hate mosquitoes, let's congratulate Mr. Vivek Raman. We will take a photo in just a moment with the entire board after we go through these awesome individuals that we're here recognizing today. We would now like to recognize the Southern Nevada Health District Committee Health Center leadership team, Tawana Bellamy, Dr. Todd Bleak, Dr. Robin Carter, Tabitha Johnson, David Kahanui, Bernadette Miley, Randy Smith, and Marilyn Yagan for being awarded the 2025 Operational Site Visit Badge from HRSA. Following the completion of the recent operational site visit, it was determined that the health center demonstrated full compliance with all health center program requirements. This achievement reflects a dedication to excellence, operational integrity, and continued service to our patients and the community. This distinction honors your steadfast commitment to compliance, quality, and the mission of the health center program. On behalf of the Health District and the Board of Health, congratulations to these awesome individuals. Now we would like to recognize our February Employees of the Month, Stephanie Romano, APRN at the FQHC. Let's hear it for Stephanie. Where's Stephanie? There she is. Hi, Stephanie. And Chris Shaman, Senior Administrative Assistant in Environmental Health. Where's Chris? Probably assisting administratively. That's what administrative assistants do. Each month, we recognize those that go above and beyond for the health district and our community and best represent our CARES values. As the Board of Health, we want to recognize these two fantastic individuals for their work and being exceptional employees. So at this time, we're going to invite each group up. We'll take a picture with the board, so if the board members can join us over there, and then we'll get on to the business of the people. Thank you. While we're taking pictures, let's fire up the copy machine and get those copies. We want them warm and hot off the press for these people. Thank you.
Come on in. Stephanie. State government. This is basically what it is.
Studying. So, there was some.
Okay, thank you so much. One more round of applause for our incredible employees and the work that they do in our community. Now we will go to agenda item number 4, the first public comment. This is a period devoted to comments by the general public about items that are posted on the agenda for action today. If you will please clearly state your name for the record, and Ms. McSwain, good to see you this morning.
Good to see you, and thank you for your comments and your grace under pressure on Tuesday. You're a gentleman. I'm here on item number 11, the informational item number 5, and I want to speak about the Environmental Health Division monthly report, specifically the notation that Indian Springs Elementary School was reminded to notify the health district whenever there's a water outage or other event affecting the public health and safety of students. That statement raises an important question about water safety oversight. On December 16th, 2024, during the Washington Tank Return to Service event, residents in Zone 2035 reported a loss of water. While the event was categorized administratively as a pressure reduction, multiple residents in the affected area reported that they had experienced no water service for almost 2 hours. That discrepancy raises a simple question. When resident experiences differ from administrative classification, is there an independent public review process? Loss of pressure in a distribution system is not merely a service inconvenience. It is recognized in EPA guidance as a contamination risk condition due to potential back siphonage and intrusion. When pressure drops significantly to roughly 20 psi or below, and especially if it reaches 0, that risk increases. No boil water notice was issued in this instance. No immediate bacteriological sampling in Zone 2035 occurred, and the event was not publicly communicated. Based on the investigative documents that have been provided, I do not see documentation indicating that the Southern Nevada Health District was contacted during this event. If that's correct, I'd really like some clarification as to why. In addition, it has been widely reported in national media that a residence in the same neighborhood was the subject of a Metro and FBI raid involving hazardous biological materials. And I'm not alleging that there was any contamination as a result of that event. However, this underscores why pressure failures must be treated with precaution because utilities do not always know what environmental hazards may exist within a distribution zone at any given time. Our community is also a high-growth, high-construction environment. Line breaks, valve closures, and pressure fluctuations are foreseeable in that context. If pressure disruptions are occurring with any regularity due to construction or operational activities, consistent and transparent safeguards become even more critical. So my question to this board is, if schools are reminded to notify the health district when there is a water outage affecting students, what is the health district's independent role when a public water utility experiences a pressure failure affecting the entire neighborhood? Does SNHD receive a reporting of such events? Are they evaluated from a public health perspective? Or does the health district defer entirely to Nevada Department of Environmental Protection? Public health protection should not depend on how an event is labeled, but on what physically occurred in the distribution system. If the standards for school is precaution and notification, shouldn't the same precaution apply system-wide? And I thank you for your time, and I'd like to submit my comments for the record.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak on posted agenda items? If you come forward, if you'll just state the agenda item that your comments are relevant to, that would be great.
Mr. Chairman, I'm here on the variance on your agenda. I just wanted to make sure that you're going to open that matter separately for discussion.
Yes, sir. That's a public hearing item, so we will have a
Thank you.
public comment opportunity at that agenda item. Thank you. Seeing no one else coming forward, we'll close the first public forum and go on.
Chair Black, I
Yes.
apologize. We do have a hand raised online.
Oh, we do? Okay. Hello.
Hello, is there a caller that ends in 8893? You're unmuted and can make your comments.
If you'll please state your name and address for the record, that would be very helpful. Looks like
If you need to unmute yourself, *6 on your phone.
okay. Well, hopefully they can call back and maybe catch us on the second public forum, perhaps. Seeing no one else coming forward, we'll close the public comment. Thank you, Jennifer and Emma, for passing out the press release document for everyone. Item number 5 on the agenda, adoption of the February 26th agenda. The chair will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as posted and presented. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposition, please, if you're online, board member, if you'll state your name along with any opposition. Hearing no opposition, that passes. Going on to agenda item number 6, our consent agenda. Consent agenda items for action considered by the Southern Nevada Health District, which may be enacted in one motion. Are there any comments or questions from the board regarding the consent agenda? If not, the chair will entertain a motion. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Now we'll go to number 7, public hearing and action. We have 2 items before us today. The first one is memorandum 06-26, request for approval of renewal of authorization of Mike O'Callahan Military Medical Center as a level 3 trauma center. Hey, good to see you this morning.
Am I on? Yes? No?
Yeah, the volume is can you folks out there hear okay? Because the volume seems a little low on the microphones. Okay, let's turn the microphones up a little bit if we can in the control center. So we want to make sure everyone can hear us appropriately. Okay, all right, go ahead.
Stacy Johnson. I'm the Regional Trauma Coordinator with the Office of EMS and Trauma. Before you today is the request for provisional authorization for the renewal of a level 3 trauma designation for Michael O'Callahan Military Medical Center. You will find the complete applications in your packet for review. But over the past 3 years, Michael O'Callahan Military Medical Center has remained compliant with the defined roles and responsibilities of a designated level 3 trauma center as outlined in the trauma system plan and the PI plan. During their designation cycle, they have consistently met reporting requirements, participated in system-wide performance improvement initiatives, and demonstrated ongoing engagement in regional coordination. Our office has completed a review of their submitted application, their supporting documentation, and their compliance history. And based on that review, there are no outstanding deficiencies that would preclude continued designation. Therefore, our office and the Regional Trauma Advisory Board respectfully recommend approval of this application and renewal of their Level 3 designation under provisional authorization while they await their review by the American College of Surgeons. And I'll take any questions if you have any.
Are there any questions from the board? Yes, ma'am.
When do you think the American College of Surgeons will?
I believe their visit is scheduled for next month.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, Councilwoman.
Have a question, but I do have a comment. I was at a veterans event last week and someone from the trauma center was there expressing to the veterans community that was gathered that they are level 3 trauma and that they offer services for service members that they can go or ask to be transported there. And so I think that that's informative to the veteran community, but also really helpful that they know that that trauma center, even if they're no longer active duty, that they can ask to go there. It's a familiar space. And I think that that's really helpful for our veterans community.
Of course.
Anything else? Thank you, Stacy. If there are no other comments, the chair will entertain a motion.
Black,
Yes.
this is.
Oh,
This is open here.
okay. I'm sorry. I apologize. Thank you so much. So we'll open the public hearing. If there are any in the audience who would like to speak on this agenda item, now's your opportunity. Seeing no one coming forward, do we have anyone online? Any comments from the board members that are joining us virtually? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and now I'll turn it over for a motion.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Thank you for your help
Thank you.
and your work. Okay, now we will go to item number 2, variance request for an existing septic system located at 2510 and 2520 South Rainbow Boulevard, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89149 to remain split across 2 parcels. We're going to hear a presentation from, are you here? Are you the applicant?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you can join.
I'm representing the applicant.
Yeah, okay, you're welcome to join us up here in the front if you'd like. You can make your way through. Sorry about that. Morning, Mr. Burns, Mr. Eisler.
You hear me okay?
Yes.
So members of the board, my name is Daniel Burns. I'm the environmental engineering manager. So this variance is before you today is required by the current regulations. As you know, we are in the process of updating these regulations to include an administrative waiver process. This is one reason the regulations are being updated to modernize regulations. So this change would allow staff to decide cases like this one directly, which would save applicants time, costs, and we wouldn't have to bring these types of variances to you for your decision. So while this specific application, it's a prime candidate for this type of streamlined process that we're hoping to achieve. So, but the current regulations still require your formal decision. So now I'll turn it over to Dan for going through the application. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Dan Eisler, Environmental Health Engineering Supervisor. So this is the variance that was brought as part of the tenant improvement process, and so many of these have been. And so this was a former 7-Eleven that is going to be converted into a Pink Box donut shop. So the original septic system was installed when this was a single lot. And then at some point in the intervening period between then and now, the lot was split so that there's a north and a south parcel, where the north parcel contains the building, the south parcel contains the septic system, except like a small sliver of the septic tank is located on the the northern parcel also. So this is in violation of our regulation, which requires that the septic system and the building it serves remain on the same parcel. And then also have to be 10 feet from any property line, which this septic system also violates that regulation. So other than this, the property being split into two parcels, the septic system is segregated in its own area. It's not paved over. It's clearly marked. It's clear where it's located, and it can be easily accessed for pumping and maintenance, and it doesn't appear to be any thing wrong with the system. It seems to be functioning adequately. But this, because section 19.4.1 of our regulations explicitly states that we must not recommend approval of variances where sewer is within 400 feet, which it is directly in front of the property on Rainbow. So this is at Rainbow and Sahara. So that's the sole reason that we would recommend denial of this variance, but otherwise staff doesn't have any issue approving the variance. And if the variance is approved, we would recommend it's approved with the conditions that they abide by the operation and maintenance requirements. If they are required to connect the sewer by the sewer authority, then they will do so. And then also install and maintain a indoor grease interceptor in accordance with the requirements of the UPC, Uniform Plumbing Code, and the SNHD food regulations. And then also within 1 year of the date of today's date, combine the two parcels into a single parcel. So that is our recommendation. And here I have Michael.
Greg Borgell.
Oh, okay. Representing the petitioner, and if you want to say anything, go ahead.
You'll
Yes,
state your
thank
name and address for the record, please.
Greg Borgell, 3747 Heritage Avenue, here representing the applicant, which has been described correctly as the owner wishes to develop the previously existing septic system included as part of the approval. On the baseline question, which is the approval requested on the particular item of reference, as staff has explained, it would require the applicant to tunnel under and obstruct Rainbow Boulevard, which is not, we think, in anybody's interest. And I think staff has made it fairly clear on that underlying question that they are compelled to recommend denial, but I don't detect in their voices the sincerity of the possibility of seeking a waiver of the administrative rule when one exists. So on the underlying question, I think it can be said that pretty fairly that the general public would not be well served with tunneling under or interrupting the service on Rainbow Boulevard. And we appreciate the staff's understanding on that point. The underlying question, however, is that the condition number 1, as requested by the applicant here um, would not be something that I come here with the power to agree to. And that is because one doesn't know what the ultimate development of the property would be, or for that matter, when the sewer would be available to do a different use on the property. And therefore, the applicant here would ask that the condition number 1 not be approved because it might have to be undone with the subsequent development of the property. For the time being, it seems pretty clear that the public would not be well served by having us interrupt and dig through or under or across Rainbow Boulevard. And then on the second question, with the subordinate question, if you will, the applicant here would not like to combine the 2 parcels and then find that as a result of subsequent development, the petition for the combination of the 2 parcels would therefore have to be undone with the consequence of a further delay of the overall project. This is, after all, I would argue, the case that the use in question now, the requested use, is a very low intensity type use, which wouldn't justify tunneling under or through Rainbow. And secondarily, as I've explained, the applicant doesn't know what the future might hold as to the question of future connections or whatever, and therefore would not like to combine the 2 parcels until the issue is resolved one way or another. And accordingly, we would ask that the application be approved, the baseline application, notwithstanding the staff recommendation, and that secondly, the subordinate condition of combining the 2 parcels not be required at this time.
Thank you. This is a public hearing item. I'll open the public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this posted agenda item. Seeing no one coming forward. Okay. You barely made it.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. My name is Christian Salmon, and I'd just like to say something quick and simple. This is why we're coming here, because we don't want to sit in that chair. This is where this is all going, and it's disheartening that we have to be meticulous about going over every hair, and then other things. Anything can go in government sometimes, including health. So I just want to make that point. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? Seeing no one coming forward, we'll close the public hearing. Before I turn it over to the board, I just want to point something out, and it actually speaks to what Mr. Salmon just said at the beginning of this presentation. So when we had the meeting at the YMCA, a lot of people came out. I had a lot of one-on-one conversations, and they said, "Well, help me understand the why. Why behind this? What's the why behind the modification of or updating the regulations?" One of the answers is, it's been 17 years. Time, technology, best practice, things like that. Time to give it a look and make sure that we're doing it right. But one thing that Mr. Burns noted is very, very important is, to Mr. Salmon's point, if the regulations, when they're proposed and approved, they would incorporate an administrative process that would prevent what we're doing here today, taking staff time, applicant time, the cost associated with the variance, the scheduling of a meeting. And if you'll see, if you look historically, we generally will approve those because of with conditions for various logical reasons. So we're putting a level of logic and efficiency into the upgraded ISDS regulations to address this very thing. So that's one of the I think very, very tangible upsides to what's being proposed. I just wanted to make sure that for the listening audience that you caught on to what Mr. Burns said, because that's a really critical aspect, a key aspect of efficiency improvement and government working the right way for the people rather than taking extra time and money. So with that, I'll turn it over to the board to get back to this particular variance that's being requested. Commissioner Kirkpatrick.
Thank you. And Mr. Burgell, this is not a county meeting or a city meeting, and I think that the conditions are reasonable, and that's the whole point, is we want you to combine it, so, because that parcel is likely, and Pink Box, to be honest, is not a low intense use. I don't know if you've ever been there, and on a day, it's packed all the time. So I wouldn't support it unless you did agree to the conditions, because we have to start moving forward. So that's where I'm at.
Other comments or questions for staff or the applicant's representative? Councilwoman.
Chair, Mr. Burdell, when you, can you talk a little bit more about your objection? Because I'm struggling with it as well. And just explain to us what is on the other part of this site that is so prohibitive that you all are opposed to combining. What's there now?
Oh, I'm sorry. The convenience market's on one parcel and the septic system is on the other parcel, and that's all that's there.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, and if I'm looking at this map correctly, sometimes I don't do good with maps. The septic system is on a separate, even though it's servicing the 7 to 11, which where Pink Box wants to change it to, the septic that is servicing it is on a separate plot. And your objection is because in the future, you don't know what you all might want to do with that, with the combined lot?
I think that's accurate. First of all, when I said that this is a low intensity use, I meant in a septic system sense that this is not a place where goods would be prepared. It's not a bakery. It is a retail facility designed to basically sell the Pink Box donuts. And therefore, for example, the idea of that we could connect across Rainbow with digging out the street and or tunneling simply would not be justified for the project that is being proposed. And then secondly, on your thought, my point, which I apparently didn't make clearly, is that we don't know what is going to be held in the future as further development of the property. And for example, if Rainbow is not an obstacle to be extended by somebody else, that could facilitate a complete cure of the problem, or could have a new project for the site. And therefore, we don't want to today consent to the combining of the two parcels, which may and very likely will, sorry, very likely will create a situation where there'll be a subsequent use that needs to be divided. And so we wish not to combine the parcels for no particular purpose, since the current situation is what is and has been operated successfully for many years on what in a septic system sense is a less intense use that we propose to establish. But we don't want to, and I do not come here with the authority to agree to the combining of the parcels now, knowing that when a future date, you would have to undo this. It is a very expensive process to combine the parcels. This is not the good old days when one could go in and simply request that your two parcels be combined. There now is an extensive and expensive and time-consuming process to do that. And we certainly don't want to do it twice as a result of agreeing to the condition now. And so that is our position that I've been sent here to represent.
Last question, does your client own both parcels?
Yes, and intends to maintain them separately, but with the septic system that has now functioned satisfactorily for the convenience market, and recognizing, as I alluded to, that this is a less intense use as to the requirement for the septic service, and that therefore a day may come when the redevelopment of the property would be called for.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kirkpatrick?
And this is a question to staff. So if you look at both lots, one is a third of an acre about, and one is maybe a quarter of an acre, correct? Is that about right? So my argument and why I support combining them is on that quarter of an acre where you already have the septic system and you already have a portion of the leach field. There's not much else you can put there. And I don't know any county or city code that would allow something to be built. It's not even, we have a minimum requirement on most cases for a 3-acre parcel or, but we don't even entertain a 0.15 parcel that has all these other barriers on top of it. Is that not a fair statement?
Well,
I didn't ask you, I asked our staff.
So if something was to be developed on that parcel, the septic system would for sure have to be abandoned and they'd have to connect to sewer.
Number one.
Yes, because even though it's a small lot already, maybe 40% of it is taken up by the septic system.
Correct.
The rest is parking lot. So you're right. Pretty much nothing could be put on there.
Okay, I'm good. I'd stick by my conviction because at the end of the day, you have to have a certain amount of lot size for any of it to even develop it. So to say that potentially there could be something else,
Yeah.
I don't believe that's realistic. I believe it's more realistic to combine it into one parcel because even if you add something else, then you're gonna still need parking. You're still gonna, right, Councilwoman, you're still gonna need parking. You're still gonna need all that other stuff, and 0.15 does not do that. So I'm sticking with I could support it, but with the conditions that are listed.
So this is Dan Burns, Environmental Engineering Manager. So staff has to make the recommendations on existing current regulations. And one of the existing current regulations is septic systems and the buildings they serve have to be on one singular parcel. The way it exists now, the system works fine on 2 parcels, but we have to recommend 1 parcel. So that's what we did. The board certainly has the ability to approve the man's request to keep the parcel separate but we can't recommend that. And if they were to keep them separate and develop the one that's vacant now with the septic, as Dan Iser said, the septic would have to be abandoned and both properties would have to be connected to sewer regardless. So, thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Just one other thing, Dan Eisler. Part of the reason we don't want to have, so even though it has been under the same ownership, we don't want to have to consider how to prevent them from selling that parcel or, splitting the ownership of the 2 parcels. We don't have to be like on constant vigilance for that. So combining them into a single parcel removes that possibility entirely.
I have one question. I understand the thought process behind not disrupting a major road like Rainbow. That makes there's logic to me in that regard. But have you obtained an estimate to what it would cost should you do that sewer connection? How much would it cost to burrow under Rainbow or cut into Rainbow to connect to the sewer? Do you know that?
I don't know that because you've proposed two alternatives.
It's just a
one-
curiosity question. It sounds like it would be very expensive.
Well, let me
You're
put
looks
it
like
this
a
way.
guy with a pink box shirt standing over there. He probably knows something.
Hi, my name is Mike Kurz. I'm the VP of Construction for Pink Box Donuts. So we have gotten multiple rough order of magnitude, are called ROM estimates for that connection to Rainbow. And the three of them were upwards of $150,000 to tunnel under and get to that connection.
Okay. So it has a high cost, a high price tag, as well as disruptive to people using the roadway. I was just curious about that. So it sounds to me like your primary objective is you want to repurpose a 7-Eleven to make an amazing pink box donuts on an existing setup. And even though it's within 400 feet, you stated your reasons why connecting doesn't make sense. So the primary objective is to receive a waiver so you can open up your awesome donut shop. That's what seems like the primary focus here. That's what I'm hearing anyway. So any other comments or questions from the board regarding this matter? If not, if someone's prepared to make a motion, we can do that.
Prepared to make a motion to approve with the list of conditions as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any
Aye.
opposition? Hearing none, that passes. Thank you, staff, and thank you, sir, for being here.
And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, now
Chair-
we're going
Chair-
to, yes.
Apologies. Member Larson is online.
Okay, thank you. All right, now we'll go to agenda item number 8, report discussion action, petition number 27-26, approval of augmentation to the Southern Nevada Health District FY 2026 budget. Ms. Whitaker is coming forward. Hi, DJ.
Morning. Can you hear me okay? DJ Whitaker, CFO for SNHD for the record. And today we're bringing our first augmentation of the fiscal year 26 budget forward. So a budget augmentation, but we did present this at a finance committee meeting this week, and I think Chair Nielsen isn't here today, so I will go through the presentation again, but maybe shorten it a little bit unless you have questions. So a budget augmentation, this is our procedure.
Sounds like the mics aren't totally working because the audience.
Let's
is
try
there.
the portable one to see if that one's any better. Yeah, these mics are a little ineffective today.
Hopefully it's not me. Oh, no, that's better. Okay. So a budget augmentation is our procedure for increasing our appropriations of a fund with the express intent of employing previously unbudgeted resources. And under Nevada revised statute, it's unlawful to expend funds that you don't have appropriation for. And so our processes are, you all know the process, we come in March with our fiscal year budget to meet the timelines to incorporate that into the county's budget and be submitted timely for that. And so we have to start very early in the year. We will bring the FY27 budget next month for your consideration. And so we are basically 4 months in advance of even starting the fiscal year. And so there are changes that come about that we would need to bring forward. And if you'll recall, a few years ago, we had an audit finding related to not having sufficient appropriation authority to expend what we wound up as our actuals for that year. So we do try to stay on top of this, and we actually bring 1 or 2 a year. So we will bring a second augmentation to align everything in June. So the overview of the augmentation provided in the packet, our staffing for FY26, so that is July 1 of 25 through June 30th of 2026, projected at 871.35. And that's compared to our FY26 adopted budget of 872.5. So you can see there's just a minor change, and that can be based on grants coming on, grants going off. So a minor change in our FTE projection. For revenue, for our general fund revenues, we're projected in this proposed augmentation at 122.7 million. And that's an increase of 1.1 million from our fiscal year 26 adopted budget. And there's a combination there. We had an increase in our property tax allocation, which we brought in June for your approval of that, as well as some reductions in some other areas. So that is a net increase of our revenues of 1.1 million. In our special revenue funds, we are projected at 56.5 million. That is a decrease of 5.4 million from our adopted budget. And if you'll recall, I think just after we brought our adopted budget last year, we lost some grant funding, but then we received some additional. So the net impact is $5.4 million decrease. On the expenditure side, it kind of follows the revenue side. Our expenditures are projected at 122.2 million. That is an increase of 4.9 million from our fiscal year 26 adopted budget. And some of that increase relates directly to the loss of grants, and that would be coming onto the general fund. And then you can see on our expenditure side, on our grants, we're projected at 62.3 million in the augmentation, and that is a decrease of 8.4 million. So although we had a bigger decrease in special revenue, it didn't all come into the general fund. On the capital side, we were projected at $2 million for fiscal year 26. That is an increase of $493,000. As you know, our parking lot repavement project is underway. And so we did note that there's some increases in the cost for that. And then I think it's probably pertinent to this that they are looking at a audiovisual update for this room. And then in the packet, we just include the current organizational chart. And just some detail to support the summary. Our adopted budget was at 183.5 million. You can see our grants were at 61.9 million. And then in the augmentation, we will be moving that to 56.5 million to reflect the changes. And then this does reflect our property tax change that we got the final amount after we had already published the adopted budget. So this does include that addition. And then this chart just shows the various functional areas. And so you can see property tax lies in the administration section. So you'll see an increase in that revenue. And then the grant reductions actually impacted a few divisions. And so you'll see reductions in some of those areas. FQHC, we had a new grant that we had included that was a staffing. And so you'll see a significant drop from 46.7 million to 43.5 million. And so those FTE you'll see in a subsequent chart have been removed as well. So the $5.4 million reduction in our special revenue or our grant-related activity. So we had the ELC enhanced detection grants that were terminated last March, I think. And that was a $13.2 million reduction. And then some Ryan White as well. And that was offset, if you recall, we had our Senate Bill 118, which expires June 30th of this year. We captured the remainder of that so that we have that in our appropriation to be able to expend that funding completely, as well as we received the state public health fund funding of 5.4 million. So when I said that the net, we did lose 13.2 million plus 1.4, but we did have some replacement funding. And then just an increase in revenue related to the existing funding so that we can make sure we expend that completely. Clark County property tax revenue, that the difference between what we had when we adopted the budget and then the subsequent allocation was 2.7 million. So with all of that activity, it was the $1.1 million net overall. And then just to point out, our pharmacy revenue is a major component of our charges for services, and that resides within our general fund. On the expenditure side, we were at 187.9 million for our adopted budget, moving to 184.5. These charts do not include our cost allocation in our indirect activity or our transfers. We do a transfer to the capital projects fund to fund the projects that we're engaging in for that year. So you can see that our salaries went from 74.4 million to 72.8, and our taxes and benefits from 37 million to 34.8. Again, this would then include, because we were halfway through the year when we started developing this, any vacant positions, any savings from that would cause a drop in these because we're not projecting that forward to June 30 because half of the year has elapsed. And then this is just the chart that shows by our divisions. And you can see, again, FQHC with the 47.6 million in the adopted to the 45.9 million, disease surveillance and control, 25.3 million in the adopted to 22.4. So in the combined general fund and special revenue fund, our augmented budget would be at 184.5 million compared to 187.9. Again, that number would take into account the cost allocation and the transfers that we do. Our again, this is kind of the mirror of the revenue side of things for the grants. When our expenditures reduce, the revenue reduces as well. So the 5.4 million is the removal of the grants, as well as our transfer of some activity from those grants has to come onto the general fund. It was for lab supplies and some equipment that was previously funded by the ELC funding. So our total salaries and benefits for our combined funding is 107.6 million, and that is a decrease of 3.8 million. Again, the vacancies do contribute to that. You can see we had with the partial freeze on hiring, we have 70 vacant positions, and so we've taken out half of the year's funding for that. The portion for the second half is included in the expenditure budget here, and that in the event that we hire any of those positions, we have the appropriation to do that. And then I have a chart here that would have our, this includes our cost allocation. It's just to show the revenue generation and the expenses by division. And then I also included one that shows before the cost allocation. So the cost allocation covers your administrative cost. So it's the kind of the charges to the divisions that offsets what our administrative burden is. Our capital fund, you can see our 26 adopted budget, we had $2.8 million total, and we're moving that to the 3.3 million. Again, increase in the improvements area, which would be our parking lot, mostly. On the personnel side, you can see the 872.5 was in our adopted budget with a move to 871.35. But you can see that there's other changes, right? It's an increase, decrease. The 6.1, we do have our street medicine program, which was not included in the FY26, the adopted budget. So we're taking that into account in this augmentation. And then the FQHC, those positions are the Ryan White positions that we had the grant activity in, and then that activity stopped. So we took those out, but we did add a pharmacist position in that. So that's a net of 7, and then some other minor changes as we're adding our state public health funds. We have some HAI program activity that came on, and then in community health, we had a reduction. So a net of a very small change overall of 1.15 FTE. And then the bottom chart is just our the split between the general fund and the special revenue fund. And so you can see we did have positions that moved from special revenue fund. We were at 255 positions, and now it's at 242. And then this is just a chart to show beginning fund balance and the net impact of everything we just went over. So our adopted budget, our beginning fund balance was prior to us closing our books. And now you can see the FY25 actual, would be the amount that would tie back to our audit. And so with that new starting point, then our estimated fund balance would be at the 65 million. The ending balance is higher than what we would have anticipated, significantly higher actually than what we had in the adopted budget. And I think Dr. Lockett covered some of that in last month's presentation about the change in our fund balance and the contributors to that. So we are starting with the actuals for FY25 now instead of an estimate. And that would bring our fund balance with consideration of today's augmentation to 53.8 million. And we did include our $3 million contingency. That's our way of making sure that we have adequate appropriation, is included in that figure to get to the ending fund balance of 53.8 million. And our special revenue funds, we always try to get that to net to zero because we have a lot of reimbursement grants, but timing wise, sometimes we wind up with a balance. And so this does reflect the change in the adopted budget of 70.6 million down to the 62 million for that reduction in our grants. And then our capital projects fund, again, that change in fund balance, we do not anticipate doing an additional transfer because we have we've built up a little fund balance in the capital projects that could easily absorb the 195,000 that we're changing. And I feel like I just sped through that, but any questions on any of the activity we're proposing?
Thank you, DJ. Commissioner Kirkpatrick.
Thank you. And I know I couldn't make Monday's meeting out of conflict. And maybe Dr. Lockett, you're going to talk about it, but are there any other grants that we see that are potential? Being a representative of UMC, we're watching and every day it's changing all the time. So, I mean, are we seeing anything? Because I worry that we got to have a nest egg because I never want to have to lay off employees in case something changes. I know we went through a crazy time where we were getting notified the day after that the grant was no longer. So I'm just wondering if we're seeing any of that on the horizon.
Thank you, Commissioner Kirkpatrick. That will be my only report out.
Jaden, do you feel comfortable that we have enough based on this augmentation of the estimate going forward, set aside to ensure we can stay where we're at?
I do. I think because we've left the vacant positions in, if we remain in the hiring freeze, we will have sufficient appropriation authority to get us through that. And so we are doing the projections as we, we'll come back in June to kind of shore up our augmentation for this year. We are developing the fiscal year 27 budget, and we'll bring that before the board next month to meet the county's deadline for getting that in. And that will be more reflective as well. Some of the same positions will be in that, and then we're taking into consideration any shifts. As I said earlier, Senate Bill 118 funding that we have. So there are some staff on that. And right now we're assuming a shift to general fund for that initial budget. And then we may have other funding that expires that we're anticipating actually expiring, not being terminated in fiscal year 27. So we are making consideration for that in the next budget as well.
Okay.
Did you have a comment, Ms. Bond?
I think that when we go through these augmentations for people that I'm not on the finance committee anymore, I have to go back in time to things that Dr. Lockett has said about, the environment we're in. I think I would like to request that every time these documents come before us or every time they're publicly released, there's a clear statement of how many dollars have been withdrawn from Nevada because of federal decisions. Because you can't tell from here. Now we're 6 months away from some of this stuff, 4 months away from stuff. You can't tell that the losses didn't originate with us. We didn't lose a grant. We did not lose a grant. Federal funds were withdrawn from existing programs that we needed. And so if there was a running tally every time we see these documents of how much of this correction, new revenue, shifting revenue, augmentation is the result of federal decision-making and specific losses, it would just be nice to keep track of that number. Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
I just want to clarify something that I just heard you say, which is that in June, you'll be back for another augmentation to sort of shore things up because our fiscal year does end June 30th, correct?
Yeah, and we just use that as an opportunity to make sure we don't get an audit recommendation and that our appropriation is sufficient. We did start, I think maybe even prior to me, they may have used the contingency. That the contingency is just that we and I think we carry a $3 million contingency, and that is just in case. We do try to get the projections to be as accurate as possible, but on the off chance that we get a grant in and we have expenditure against that, we do want that activity. And so usually I think they usually brought one in June. We have this interim one just because there was so much change. We lost a grant after we adopted the budget, and then we got the other funding sources, and we like to put that out there and then shift between the funding sources. We show a lot of this on a consolidated basis. And so we want to split that out so you can see if something's coming off of a grant and having to go on our general fund, which I think to your point is that we, if there is that shift, we do want to make sure that we have enough in the general fund to be able to pay for those supplies that you saw shift over, or equipment for our lab, those types of things, or staffing that are coming off of other grant funding. And the ones that we see here, like this Senate Bill 118 activity, that's anticipated. That was not a withdrawal of funding. That funding was naturally going to end on June 30th. So we have a lot of moving parts that we do try to account for in our augmentation.
Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Just follow up. I would like to agree with my colleague. I think that we really should. I would appreciate it if you would delineate out when we're losing funding from federal something we've gotten and it's been taken back. I think that that's important. We depend on their participation and support so that we can do local work. There's no way that we can do all of these things that have regional implications on our own. And so we depend on them. So if there's a change, I think we just need to be clear about it wasn't us. We didn't do something inappropriate. It's just that money was retracted.
Any other comments? Any comments from the board members that are joining us virtually for DJ? Okay, hearing none, I just want to say thank you, DJ. You have a great finance team. We have a complex budget, pushing $200 million, almost 900 employees, with federal funding and different funding streams and grants. It's very complex, and it wasn't always this way. We weren't always getting clean audits. We weren't always fiscally sound in the way that we are today. So I just want to express gratitude to you and your team. So please take that back to them if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
All right. So with that, would someone like to make a motion to approve petition 27-26? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposition? That passes. Thank you so much, DJ. All right, now we'll go to number 9, board reports. Are there any items from the board members that you would like to bring to the fore in terms of future agenda items or updates from your communities? Councilwoman Rooney.
There was an article this week, also in light of DJ's presentation, there was an article this week that HIV rates are rising in Nevada, I think faster than the national average. And then in light of losing the Ryan White grants, I would love to have a presentation on what we're doing to address that, and what potential fiscal implications are.
Anyone else? Commissioner Kirkpatrick?
Yep, I have a question. So, legislative bills are due in September, and most of the boards that I'm on, the priorities look at. So, I'd be curious to what interim health is doing. What are they putting forward? I don't always agree with what they bring forward, but and also, are there some things that we need to look at ourselves? So just because I think that at least for most boards I sit on, by May, everybody is getting all of their ducks in a row so that they can go through approval processes to start putting bill drafts in by September deadline.
So we can do both things. We can have, at the next board meeting, we can have someone come back, talk about Ryan White and the increase in rates. And then also we can have Emma give us an update on our legislative priorities.
Hey, I just had one thing. Our very first public comment today was from Laura McSwain, and she brought up the reference to the CCSD water pressure testing matter. And I think it would be appropriate for this board to hear a brief presentation on what our role is in that space in terms of water quality, safety, testing, and reporting procedures. If we could take a look at that, that would be wonderful. All right. Anything else? All right. With that, we will go to item number 10, Health Officer and Staff Reports. Dr. Lockett.
Okay. For the record, Cassius Lockett, District Health Officer. And as all of you have acknowledged, public health funding continues, especially grants, continues to be scrutinized at the federal level. In fact, in DJ's presentation, she definitely articulated some of the reductions to the epidemiology laboratory capacity, enhancing a detection grant, and Ryan White at the tune of $5.4 million decrease, right? Not good. We're very lucky that that was offset by Senate Bill 118. We're very fortunate to get that, and also the State Public Health Fund, and then the Overdose to Action grants. So lucky to have those additional resources. So I will touch on what's happening now, and that is, I think all of you are aware that there was $600 million that were clawed back from 4 states, California, Colorado, Illinois, and Minnesota. And then they decided $600 million is too much. So they filed a suit on February the 13th, and a federal judge in the U.S. District Court in Illinois issued a temporary restraining order for 14 days. We suspect that will be extended, but meanwhile, that TRO definitely allows funding to keep flowing into those 4 states. And this is really significant because the grants that are impacted, one of them is the public health infrastructure grant, which is not good. We have a lot of employees on that grant. Another one is the HIV surveillance grant. Another one is the HIV prevention grant. Okay, those two play a key role in keeping those rates going down, not just the Ryan White program. So maybe we'll have a presentation that includes all 3 of those grant sources and how they work in combination. And another one is the STD prevention grant, another one that's potentially going away. The reason for the clawback is that CDC is indicating that now they want alignment with the CDC's brand new vision. So if you're not in alignment with those criteria, which I've had an opportunity to ask about, what is that criteria? Is there a funding formula, a methodology that's used? The answer is absolutely not. So just read that webpage and you'll get a sense of what that might look like. So we're preparing for the possibility, if this goes through, that this could spread across all jurisdictions in the United States of those 4 grants, which is not good. So what is the SNHD potential impact? We are monitoring it, but what I can tell you in all transparency today and right now is that those 4 grants, the FIT grant, HIV surveillance, HIV prevention, STD prevention, we're looking at approximately $22 million. You just saw DJ presented to you $56.5 million, and that was reduced down by 4.5, right? So this would net, because once we look at our request for reimbursements, that puts that, so the total that's been drawn down of the $22 million to about $14 million. So you're looking at a total decrease potentially, if this gets clawed back, of nearly $20 million. Okay. So that's why this is extremely significant, and we continue to really, truly watch this with grave concern. We are in the midst of doing contingency planning to really try and blunt any kind of impacts and not lose any staff, as DJ sort of articulated some of that. So I will say that, we can circle back around, and any future augmentations, I think it is really going to be helpful to clearly delineate any clawbacks and put the special PowerPoint presentation slide so that the board stays informed. And I'll keep you informed and updated, whether it's in this platform or via email, if we have any immediate clawbacks that we have to respond to. So that concludes my presentation.
Yes, we have a question from Commissioner Kirkpatrick, and then any other board members who would like to ask a question or make a comment.
Building. We had all kinds of roof problems and all kinds of things, overruns that we had. And so then we kind of kept the contingency fund, and it was helpful during COVID so that we could continue to, keep business open. Do you think that it makes sense in today's environment to maybe ask the finance board to have that contingency fund be more of the level of $5 million as opposed to $3 million, so that we can keep moving forward? And so you still have to come back to us and ask if you're going to use it and all that other stuff. But I know at least at like the county, we're trying to keep a little bit more of a buffer because we're turning on a dime, and there's so many unknowns out there. Costs are rising on different things. And so I just wonder if it makes sense to ask the finance board for $5 million, because we still have the lab to finish. So we don't know what that could look like. We still have, who knows? I mean, I remember the roof in this place when we all sat under buckets, and we haven't had no rain, which I don't know if that's good or bad, but I mean, I just want to have a little bit more buffer. I don't want employees to have to worry because a grant went away that they don't exist. I know how hard it is for staff to try and figure it out in 10 days notice, right? So I think we should beef that up.
Yeah, I agree. I'll have a conversation with DJ. We'll go a little bit deeper and explore. I think $2 million is fair. A lot of projects that might change some things as well in the future, like our EHR modernization, where we need some startup funding as well. And also to help buffer against any of these, I don't know what to call them, attacks.
Council?
I agree with my colleague. I'm concerned about the unknowns that could affect our staff. I think I'm really more concerned about the trickle down and how that will affect our ability to protect the public. And I wonder sometimes if our general public really knows like how much the staff here affects everyday life in our community. We often know what our police do when we know what our fire does. They have a great built-in social media platform and a social impact. I think we take for granted our public health structure and infrastructure. And to hear that we're having rates of HIV that are climbing faster than any place in the nation is jarring to me. I'm from Northern California. I remember the 80s when we had AIDS that was just unbridled, decimated our community, and we didn't even know what it was. And we've learned over time that HIV has no respect of person. It crosses every single socioeconomic, religious barrier. And we've got to, I think we have to be proactive in our approach. And maybe it's time that we start talking in a more neighborhood level about what public health does so that our community is aware of the importance of this organization, the people who work here, to our everyday life. And I'd like to see us maybe put some efforts in. We don't want to spend tons of money on that, but I think that there are some things that we can do. Like we had the beauty shop thing, where we talk to women about heart health, right? Those are like regular everyday things. We all know a woman or family member who's had a stroke or a heart attack, and public health information is really important that we talk to people about these things. And I don't think that everybody knows that we're part of that ecosystem. This is what we do. And so I think that it's important that people know. I'm sorry, a little long-winded, but I get a little excited about this stuff because I have a community that I serve that is really disproportionately affected, and we need public health officers and staff in our community.
No, I agree with you on everything you said. We all can do a better job, especially in public health, telling our story. You mentioned law enforcement. So when I was in the United States Public Health Service as a commissioned officer, lieutenant commander, one of the things that we said over and over is that, and that was part of our motto, is that we carry knowledge, not guns. And so with how that translates to the team here, whether it's environmental health or disease investigators or epidemiologists, they enforce laws. They're actually law enforcement, and they're a part of it. And we just don't translate it to the community that way, that we provide that type of protection. But again, we carry knowledge, we don't carry guns.
Dr. Lockett, I would like to add, if I may, we have an opportunity coming up because it's Public Health Month and Public Health Week coming up, right, in April. And so the last 2 years, we've incrementally increased our visibility by having a legislator day, by inviting stakeholders to come and learn. We did a presentation last year on congenital syphilis. I think what we could do is take it another step this year and do Did You Know campaign out to the community and do it departmentally, because a lot of people do not know the depth and the reach of the health district in terms of the baseline public health investments that we make and how we make a difference. And so I think we have a great opportunity just right around the corner. Let's make it happen.
It sounds great. We'll squeeze it in.
All right. Anything else for Dr. Lockett? Dr. Hardy.
Thank you. I have to give a shout out, speaking of all of the public health awareness, of the baby shower, the biggest, bestest baby shower I've ever seen in my whole life. The Southern Nevada Health District did the other day, and I think that portrayed all of the services that we have and that we have in the community, and the opportunity we have to say it's okay not just to have a baby, but to take good care of the baby before, after, during the whole pregnancy. I was very impressed with everybody that was there, the health district's role in that. And I think there are some good things that the health district does that we can ride through the whole PR program that we're doing. We do care, and people notice that we care. So I think kudos to the health district people.
Thank you, Mayor Hardy. That was a great way to close out our comments from our DHO. Oh, let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. This is fun.
But I do want to go back to, and as we're doing all those things, can we tie it back to the federal decisions that are being made that make it harder and harder to do that? I just really I want your monthly reports to have like a running tally on this. And, you know, what happens in the absence of these funds is you guys figure out a way to do more with less. But eventually, to what the other members are saying, it hits the community. And so I wanted to try to figure out if we can tie them together better. And I think everything that was said about Public Health Month is a great idea. Thanks.
Okay, now we'll go to item number 11, informational items. This is departmental reports that are included in the agenda and the backup information. So encourage you to look through those at your leisure. Go to item number 12, which is the second public comment period devoted to comments by the general public regarding matters that are under the jurisdiction of the health district. If you'd like to come forward, please state your name and address for the record. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for your patience to wait till the end of our meeting. Hello.
Hi there. Ann Casey, 7460 Helena Avenue. I came to talk about a couple of things, but then I got this press release and I have to address a couple of things here. The last section says clarification of common misconceptions about the proposed regulations. And if I have misconceptions, then I think you need some changes in your proposed regulations. The first bullet, the second bullet says the proposed regulations will not impact or revoke water rights. I believe it's section 2-2. I could be wrong on that. Says that all permits will be temporary and revocable. I have a permanent lifetime permit. I think changing it from permanent lifetime to temporary and revocable is an impact, and it's a major impact. So if I'm wrong, fabulous, make it say that. If I'm not wrong, then this is wrong. The last bullet, as with current regulations, existing operating permits remain valid unless a system fails or sewer infrastructure becomes available and connection is legally required by the appropriate sewer authority. I have no idea what that means. I don't know what a failure is. It's not defined in the proposed regulations. It doesn't say who, how, when, nothing about it, just if it fails. I don't know what sewer infrastructure becomes available means. Does that mean because it's in front of my house, it's available? So there are a lot of questions about that one as well. If I simply need a simple repair that doesn't cost that much money, but I have to replace my whole system because it failed, I consider that a pretty major impact as well. Lastly, it says that you're moving forward. Let's see, no action, wait a minute, no action is being taken that would financially burden existing residential septic system owners. Going back to those other two things, I think that those are major potential financial burdens to existing owners. And so I think that the statements about common misconceptions, either I have misconceptions or these things are wrong. One or the other, I think something needs to be either clarified or corrected. The last thing is having to do with notifications. I was there, was it just last night? No.
Tuesday,
Thank you. I was there. You said someplace in here, it says there were 1,000 community members. The city senior center told me that there were over 1,500, and that was without much notification. I asked specifically to have notification to all septic owners, and I was told that you can't do that. And I find that simply unacceptable. You have all of our addresses. If you don't have all of our addresses, how are you administering anything? How are you going to bill us for these fees that are now not going to be collected? There needs to be notification to every system, to every septic owner. And you guys, if you don't have those addresses, by God, you better get them. That's just bottom line. You can't regulate a system you don't know exists, or you don't know where it exists, period. I would also like to say that, you know, in voter, in the ballots, it gives a pro argument and a con argument. And I kind of think that maybe you need to have that, because when you make statements like that there's no impact, that we aren't being financially burdened or potentially financially burdened. I think, to me, those are simply false statements. And I think you need to have another section in that notification to all septic owners that allows the people who disagree with the statements you're making say why they disagree. Thank you very much.
thank you. So this is a one-directional public comment, but I will state, according to what Ms. Casey said, just want to reiterate that we're in the midst of a process of revising regulations. Currently, there is a set of proposed regulations that are out in the community. They've been published as a proposal. And this document that I read this morning that was put out by the Health District via the press release is a summary of what is being proposed, and we continue to work through the process. So misconception, we just want it to be as clear as possible. So I thank you for your sharing those feedbacks so we can continue to refine the process that we are in the midst of. Hello.
Hi, Cheryl Pastor, 1330 Rosanna Street. I'm here to talk about, I have a neighbor that just hooked up. So I'm going to give you a little information because I actually not only got to talk to my neighbor about the process, I actually got to watch the process. So I've seen the whole thing about what they do. First of all, I wanted to tell everybody, not only you folks, but all the people here that are homeowners, first of all, you're going to be out of your home for a minimum of 2 weeks. So this is an additional cost besides paying for the septic, besides paying for all the damage that's going to be done to your property. And a lot of people will have a lot of damage to their property in which they won't necessarily be able to even get into their property after the 2-week period, which is mandatory that they have to be off their property. So it depends on what the company is going to be doing. And people aren't aware of that. And I know you're not aware of it. So that is a terrific impact on somebody. I have no family here. My husband and I don't even know where I'd go. I'd have to go to a hotel. Fortunately, I don't have kids. I don't have animals, but the people that do that would have to go through this process, that would be an extreme burden because everybody doesn't have family or a place to go. So that's just for the first 2 weeks. That would also depend on what would have to be done in addition to your property. Now, these folks lived within 10 feet of the sewer line. So they decided to do it because they had very little impact to their property. They only had to remove dirt to and grass to be able to go back to where the septic tank was. And what the company does is they're not only digging out the street, they're trenching with a Caterpillar tractor. So we're talking about tracks, very big unit, to go through the side of your house to the backyard to dig it out. Very large bucket. They dig it down 5 feet. It's all the way digging out to where your septic is and hook it up. Then they leave their equipment, including a bobcat, onto the property, as well as all the materials they're going to use. So it's a lot. And I'm talking about sand, gravel, dirt, additional dirt, as well as asphalt to be able to repair the street. No materials or equipment can be left on a public street. Now, this was on Del Rey. It's not on my street. So it was right around the corner from my house. And after talking to these people, I didn't talk about cost. I just said, I want to see the process and what's going on. It's a lot of money, just what they did, and theirs was the most basic. Now, I have other neighbors as well as other people up the street. And the fact is, now we're talking about replacing walls. We're talking brick walls. We're talking about driveways. So the two neighbors on both sides of them, my God, they can't even access their backyards. One has 2 septic tanks. The other one has 1, but they have a shed on one, swimming pool on the other. They can't even get to their backyard. And of course, their backyard butts up against another neighbor. So you have to understand there isn't always access. And depending on where your septics are located, whether they're in the front yard or backyard, is problematic because of all these things you have to negotiate. And that cost is additional cost, as well as the time you would have to be off your property because it's liability issues. So the company will not allow you anywhere near your property at any point, even once they hook up. So I want you to understand that. And it is a severe hardship on a lot of people. You've got people that are sick, people that don't have anything. And it's costly, extremely costly. So this is an additional cost besides the repair to your property and the sewer. So you have 3 costs. Thank you very much.
Good morning.
I am a homeowner. My name is Sharon Seeley, and I live at 6475 Darby Avenue. Please adopt the Septic Owner's Bill of Rights. We built our home 49 years ago, and we have a permit with no renewal or expiration for our septic tank. We hired a licensed contractor to install the septic system. We have properly maintained our septic system. If it needed to be repaired or replaced, it should be up to us to make that determination with no red tape. It would be a financial burden to be forced to hook up to sewer. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Seeley. Good to see you again, sir.
My name's Harold White. I live at 9470 West Virginia Avenue. I'm a homeowner, and I have some concerns, especially where you say in your broadcast release that it's jurisdictional. And I would submit to this board that you get a hold of all the other jurisdictions, such as North Las Vegas, Henderson, Laughlin, Mesquite, and all the other municipalities in Clark County, so we can all be on the same playing field. I live in Clark County. My neighbor has been annexed in to the city. And based on what I'm reading here, because I am now within 400 feet of city sewer because of the new development that is moved in, I have to go to the city and they can annex me in and make me hook up to the city. This is wrong. You say it's okay, we're not going to revoke your permits, we're not going to revoke your well, we're not going to revoke your septic system. But the city says, we don't care what the county says. We're the city and we now are here because we've annexed everybody in. And that's the way it is. Not right. There is being handed out on another subject. What they got here is called the Septic Owners Bill of Rights. I don't know if you've seen it or if you have one. If not, we'll get one to you. I'll give you mine for that matter. And I would suggest that you look it over it and read it, because I agree with everything that's on it. And that's just what this board needs to do, is read this and understand where we're coming from. Thank you for your time.
Hi, board. Chair, my name is Christian Salmon. Under NRS 241.0351D, I respectively request that the minutes reflect the substance of my remarks, and I'm submitting my prepared remarks so my words are preserved in verbatim, word for word, as part of the public record. Today, I am placing a homeowner first platform into the workshop, or not the workshop, but the this is for the other night, record, the Septic Owners Bill of Rights. I would like to read the headings only, but I will be giving you the full text so you can look at it. I'm start off here. Number 1, keep a lawful septic, no permission to occupy. 2, repair, replace, must not trigger for sewer. 3, no proximity ambush, and that's currently in the language, and I don't think that's fair either. 400 feet accessible, words like served, available, etc. Voluntary sewer connection only, unless you're going to come and pay for the whole thing, like restoration, like lodging, like has already been discussed. Clear and objective rules, no vague traps. This is littered with them. Things like define altered so that normal maintenance isn't punished. Define commercial use so homeowners aren't relabeled. 8, real notice and direct outreach via mail, email, text, and proof that that's been done. 9, no open-ended discretion, any other conditions or any other information, quote unquote, that is in this wording. Due process plus appeals people can actually use, such as giving them 90 days to respond, not the traditional 30 that's used normally. 11, homeowner favorable interpretation, so that no interpretation traps hook us when we're in the midst of what we saw today. There should be no discrimination and no segregation. That's a common theme in our society, but yet we have rural versus residential versus commercial. 13, build, rebuild, or renovate without a sewer connection coercion. 14, transparency plus we want to face the authors. I have Dr. Lockett here, and I know that they're facing you, but you know what? They should face us. We want to hear what the decision makers that are drafting all this have to say. They are always facing the other way, and I don't think that's appropriate. The gravity of what we're talking about is serious, and we want to face everybody in all these meetings. Also, just something else. Water is not lost. The water goes in the earth, and we're going to pull it back up with my well. It's not going anywhere. We're talking about credits for the Colorado River. It's not lost. I'm going to pull it back up later, maybe years, but it's going in there. It's not going anywhere. So you're fighting us over something that's not logical. This whole thing is littered with illogical premises, and it's not fair. So if this is one thing I like to ask is, I asked for records release. Now I've told this to the board, and I've asked for records. This is a public policy. Why can't I get the records? Why can't we all know it? Everything should be disclosed. They told me administrative, deliberative law. That means what they're talking about behind the scenes. Shouldn't that be disclosed? Isn't that what this is all about? I mean, come on. I got denied up into Dr. Lockett. I appealed to him even though I didn't have to. The next step is I have to go to court. Do I have to pay for an attorney to get public records? I mean, this is totally ridiculous. Is this the United States, or are we in a third world country? You know, just makes me mad, because this is not what America's supposed to be. This is totally ridiculous. Totally. And this is a one-way conversation. I see you guys looking at me. Now I've got your attention. We got your attention the other night, but you're still steamrolling forward. You're not listening. This board should look at the premise that is being proposed and say if it's worth pursuing. I'm asking the board right now, even those that are not in attendance, that are virtually, I'm asking you to please put this up for a vote, that we have a time for a hearing, not to approve it, but to see if it would even continue, because this is a cart before the horse.
Next speaker, please.
And I'm going to hand my documents to you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Get a little closer to the microphone if you don't mind. You're quite tall. Okay.
My name is David White. I'm a homeowner of 3202 Montecito Drive. We have a septic system and an existing septic system. I have one request and two questions, and maybe since it's a one-way process now, I understand this, maybe turn those questions into comments.
Let me stop you really quick. This is a one-way where we're hearing from the public and public comment, but certainly that doesn't mean that we cannot engage after the meeting. So if you would like to, I'm just saying this applies to everyone, not just Mr. White. If you want to stick around and talk about your case-by-case unique set of circumstances, we have our staff. I'll stick around. We can certainly have conversations, but based on the structure of the open meeting law, we can't dialogue in the meeting itself. So I just want to make it clear to the public that we're here to talk, that we're listening, but we can talk as well.
And I appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt you.
So I'll ask the question and maybe take it as it will, and maybe convert that into a comment. So my first request is please adopt the Septic Owners Bill of Rights. My first question is, will normal maintenance or normal repairs to an existing septic system or leach field be used as a requirement to upgrade the existing system to new codes and regulations, up to and including a requirement to replace the existing septic system or leach field? I ask this question due to your third bullet of your press release, which seem to have the all capturing all repairs to distribution or leach field components. So if your answer is yes, it will, then I ask you to please make maintenance and normal maintenance and repairs from existing systems exempt from these renewal regulations. And my second question, which is probably a little simpler, will transfers of ownership maintain the grandfathered status of the septic system? So those are my requests and two comments.
The answer to that was yes.
Thank you.
Name's Edward Peters. I live at 7175 West Landberg. I was at Tuesday's meeting, cluster. I've got your regulations. I've tried to read all 50 pages. One that very interesting is 2-2.04. According to this, if I construct a new building with or without plumbing, you've got to approve it. If I put a shed on my property without plumbing or water, you've got to approve it. Why? That's a building permit, not you. Makes no sense. We take care of our septic systems and maintain them, and we always have. I've known people with septic systems that are relatives in North Dakota that had them for over 150 years on their property. They work fine. Stop trying to improve what's not broken. We do not need more government. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Judy Clark. I own property here in Las Vegas at 3425 Maverick Street. First of all, Mr. Black, I want to say thank you for being so professional last Tuesday night instead of sneaking out like my representative did. I really do appreciate that. You know,
I want to know who your representative is because I was there the whole time and spoke to the other 50 people in the other room.
I also agree that I want you to adopt the septic order bill of rights. Okay. And, you know, unfortunately, I've come to a point in my life that there's a possibility that we might have to sell our property. A year ago, I would have never thought that my septic tank was going to come into play with selling my property. Now, it definitely concerns me that it could have a negative impact on having to sell my property. I have a great piece of property here in Nevada, and I really am concerned. And the other thing is, I've listened to you guys talk about federal government involvement. That's the problem. Get away from relying on the federal government. This is a perfect example of government run amok. There is no reason to be doing anything about septic tanks. You can't give one example of when a septic tank has been a health issue in the state of Nevada. We've asked and asked for that information and nobody can provide it. So why is the health district even getting involved in something that has worked fine for the last hundreds of years or however long people have been building homes in the state of Nevada? And people are right. Hooking up to the sewer should be the city's responsibility or the county's responsibility, not the homeowner's responsibility. If you didn't want septic tanks, then you shouldn't have allowed them, but you did. And now you need to deal with it. If you want us to hook up, then you pay the cost of it. Don't expect the people to pay the cost of it.
Hi, Miss Henry.
Hello. Diane Henry, Henry. First, I'd like to thank you for the proposed revisions to your new septic regulations. It's a good start. However, some of the revised proposed language is overly vague and subject to interpretation, and too many groups of homeowners, such as new construction or what you call altered or expanded systems, will still be seriously harmed by the revised regulations. I would hope that you hold off on any new requirements until you have a funding mechanism to implement them. So new construction is already subject to the SNWA septic waiver process, and if approved, a fee of $20,000 for the privilege of being able to install a septic system on their currently worthless land. Without a waiver, they can't build, but they can't sell. Even with approval, they're subject to lists of arbitrary restrictions, such as having to pay to install future sewer connection infrastructure, even though they will have just paid to design and install a brand new septic system, while what you call reasonable access to sewer may still be decades away, if ever available. And that raises another question. What do you define as rural areas that would not be subject to connection requirements for new construction along with well owners? Is my neighborhood of Section 10 a rural preservation area in the middle of town using municipal water, but without reasonable access to sewer for most of the area? Are we considered rural? How about other rural preservation areas with no sewer access? Are only property owners in outlying towns safe from connection requirements, no matter the lack of infrastructure in some R&P areas of the valley? With new construction, you're now proposing additional restrictions and costs for those who are lucky enough to be granted a waiver, but just extending a sewer main 400 feet could easily cost $100,000. How can you hang this over people's heads? Albeit new construction makes up just a small segment of property owners without access to sewer, but these people have property rights and should not be abused by arbitrary restrictions. Aside from new construction, my main concern is actually with what you're calling altered systems, which could affect any septic owner if a repair becomes necessary. I shouldn't lose my permit if my septic has a problem which is repairable, but instead it appears that altered systems include what you list on pages 12 and 13, which is any repairs other than adding a riser or cleaning or replacing minor subcomponents such as switches, valves, pumps, or filters. So if I have a cracked pipe, like my neighbor who had a tree fall on her septic system, or there's a problem with my tank or part of the leach field, I can't just fix it. Not without triggering a permit revocation, 5-year temporary permit, fees, reviews, and all your other requirements. If a system is fixed and back to proper function, the original permit should remain in force. But needing to repair my system would actually trigger much worse than loss of my permit and some requirements. Look at page 41 of your revised proposed septic regulations. It should scare the hell out of any septic owner, excuse me. According to Chapter 9, Decommissioning of ISDS, Section 9-1B1 says that an ISDS must be decommissioned in the following circumstances: that the reconstruction of major system components, such as replacement of a tank or a section of the soil absorption system, must be shut down. So if a repair is more than minor, even a repairable system must be decommissioned and can't just be repaired. That's a real gotcha. And it's both arbitrary and capricious and a serious overreach of your authority. Please readdress what you consider to be an altered septic system and its ramifications. I thank you.
Good morning.
Morning. Keith Kennedy, Henderson, Nevada. As so eloquently spoken just a minute ago, I'm in a unique situation where I'm currently on a septic system and also have a piece of property that I'd like to develop. I am retired and that was going to be my retirement home. And now I've been going to meetings in my retirement, which I did not want to do. And so I'm now up against the regulations of S&W Water Authority of the 20,000. So I'd like just to go over, back in the late 90s, I ended up doing a septic system on my current house. And some of the numbers were, I did an owner builder, I was able to do it. I went to the health district and basically it was $100 for the permit, no perk test. Here's the requirements. Go ahead and do it and we'll inspect it. If you have a problem, they'll notify you when they come out and the inspector says, hey, I'd like this changed a little bit. Okay, $50, you go pay the fee. He comes back, either he comes out and signs it off, or you send him a picture and it's like, yep, it's good to go. Now you have your permit. Nowadays, with this 5-year renewal on any new construction, it's vague. It doesn't say, it tells you in section 12 or whatever, go to this fee schedule. Well, the fee schedule now, which I haven't asked how much a new permit is, but under the ISDS 6200, it's $738 for the permit. So what you're telling me is if I want to build now, I go to the water authority and I pay $20,000, which doesn't do anything for me. It just, they look the other way and say, hey, yeah, you can go ahead and do it. Now I come to the health district and I'm going to pay, let's say $738. That's good for 5 years. And if there's no problems, it's just a paperwork thing saying, hey, yeah, that's great. Pay me another $738. Well, let's look at the fees. Back in the day, when I built, I put mine in, basically hired a guy for $120 an hour for a tractor. It took a couple hours to dig the leach field where the septic tank is, spent about maybe $5,000 on my system. Well, nowadays I just Googled AI and it says anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000 just for someone to install it. Plus permit fee, plus the 20,000, plus 738 every 5 years. Now I have to do a soil bore test and a perk test. And under these guidelines in GIS, if you go down to any of the building departments, they can look at maps and say, you're in a caliche zone, you're this, you're this, you're this. When you go and build as an owner builder, we don't have unlimited funds. And so to go and do all these different tests, which you know what the soil is, you know what the perk rate. Back in the day, it was 15 perk rate a minute. And so you had the guidelines that you could look at and say, yep, that's what I'm gonna do. If you needed a smaller footprint for your leach field, you can go and have it tested and you can have a bit greater perk rate. And you can zone it for that size system. Well, now it's mandatory, even if you can fit it in what the required system is. And going further, the Water Authority made it to where it says 400 feet for a connection. Now with the new water regulations, you have to be 600 feet or greater. Well, just to give you the numbers, I talked to Henderson and they said the average linear per foot for sewer, just the 8-inch sewer pipe or whatever, is anywhere from $300 to $400 linear foot. So let's do the math. When I bought my property, I was outside the 400 feet. Now I might be within the 600 feet. Well, with that being said, at 400 feet, at $300 linear foot, that's $120,000. How much do you pay for a lot? Now we did another 200 feet. Well, now it's $180,000 plus the 20,000 and on and on and on. Plus you're putting in a sewer septic system at anywhere, 20 to 30,000 plus. And then you have the every 5-year fees. It does not make any sense for something we're actually treating the water naturally the way God made the system. And now we're trying to change to get on the sewer just so we can get credits for our new construction, for all the big developers. In my area, I'm in a rural preserve. According to this, I've talked to other people and it's not that way. I'm over 3,000 feet from a septic sewer system, and the city has there's no big tracts of land that they're going to go ahead and have D.R. Hortons or Pulte or whatever bring in a sewer system to my location. So I'm on the hook, and my resale value is not, it's not going to be there. And basically, before they got the waiver system, my property was worth nothing. And I did due diligence. I was a builder before on my own property.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Hello.
At the close of Carol Reynolds. At the close of last month's board meeting, Chair Black said something that got my attention. He referred to private septic owners as stakeholders. It has been my observation that when a politician uses the word stakeholders, I should look over my shoulder and wait for the other shoe to drop, because it's likely that they are not referring to we plebeians. I would like to believe that this is not just political rhetoric and that we will be acknowledged as true stakeholders and treated appropriately. Thank you.
Still good morning. My name is Elva Anderson, and I live at 2672 Barberdale Circle. This might date me, but I remember on 6th Street when I was a young kid, we had a cesspool. Now I know that cesspool might have caused problems with health, but now I have an up-to-date septic system and I'm very proud of it. And I'm wholeheartedly in favor of the Septic Owners Bill of Rights. And I plead with you to please go over them and share our emotional distress with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is David Anderson. I live at 6217 O'Bannon Drive, Las Vegas.
I just want to say thank you as an RN. Thank you for your support for your employees. Two, thank you for all above for your communication skills and support of everyone on Tuesday evening, because you guys did an exceptional job in keeping people from raising their hands. And three, I really do want to protect our septic systems and not have any more charges. And I hope we can get more information out there on this HIV business, because I don't think that people understand the severity of the problem anymore. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Laura McSwain, for the record, MCSWAIN with the Water Fairness Coalition. Thank you, Chair Black and members. On the Health District's website, under proposed updates, septic systems and liquid waste regulations, it states, the Southern Nevada Health District is proposing updates. The goal is to simplify and clarify existing language and make other necessary updates to protect public health. And the first line of the current regulations as they exist, under intent, it reads, the purpose of these regulations is to protect and promote the public health, safety, and environment. Those two statements are consistent and they're appropriate for a health agency. Yet in a significant shift, the red line of the current regulations strikes the existing intent and scope language entirely and restructures authority while expanding enforcement mechanisms. I do want to acknowledge the history here, though. The original proposal contained far more aggressive elements that have been scaled back. Some of the more immediate pressure points were softened. I appreciate that revisions were made in response to public input. However, removing the most dramatic components does not resolve the underlying issue. What remains is still a substantial restructuring of regulatory authority. It still preserves board discretionary language. It still keeps the pathway for compelled connection intact, and it still creates no funding responsibility for the entity that ultimately benefits from increased recycled water yield. It's extremely difficult to craft sound public policy when the motivating objective does not align with the core mission and statutory responsibilities of the agency implementing it. If this were truly about correcting documented widespread public health failures, they would be clearly identified and narrowly addressed. If the objective is increased wastewater return flow, then it belongs squarely within water resource and infrastructure policy. In Nevada, when a water authority acquires water resources, it pays for them. It does not shift the acquisition cost onto private homeowners and under the banner of public health protection. Yet here, the financial burden remains on residents, while the regional system gains the supply benefit. If this truly is about protecting public health, then demonstrate the specific hazard and tailor the remedy accordingly. If this is about increasing regional recycled water supply, then pursue it transparently and fund it appropriately. But striking out the existing intent language, expanding enforcement structure, and shifting financial responsibility while describing it merely as simplifying and clarifying language, ask the public and all those people that were there Tuesday night to ignore what is plainly in front of them. I respectfully submit my comments for the record, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good morning.
My name is Gary Cantor, 2816 Vista del Sol. Ladies and gentlemen, firstly, I want to thank you for the revision in your last draft, and I'm referring to the one that was published a few days ago. My comments were totally based on that draft, and so now I guess I have to shoot from the hip on some comments today. I would begin by saying I was at the meeting on Tuesday, and please remember that there were approximately 1,500 citizens who showed up at your Tuesday meeting. And it wasn't because they were all in love with your proposal. This is the largest turnout I've ever seen since I've been here. With reference to the specifics, I'm going sort of out of step here for what I originally planned, but I have some comments on the last draft that I can drop off, and I'm not going to go through them right now. But I would like to say there should be, you have an area with dealing with rural areas. There should be no restriction precluding installation of septic tanks in lots in established residential areas without sewers. A $200,000 lot would otherwise be totally worthless. And we can all guess what's going to happen in that case. And that's an important issue. This was called to my attention because someone called me and said they have a lot. We're in a residential area that has a sewer. They won't let me put in a septic tank and they want $140,000 to connect to the sewer. That's totally nuts. So I would just call that, I think the comment on vacant lots in residential areas should be included, and their ability to install a septic tank should be there. As I mentioned before, I've had a long history here in terms of medical care. I previously spent many years at the UCLA Medical School as a member of the faculty. And I've never seen or been aware of a single medical problem secondary to septic tanks. As I said before, review of the world's medical literature has not revealed a single medical publication regarding a health problem secondary to septic tanks, and not a single publication relating to any environmental health issues secondary to septic tanks. So why is this a health department issue? That's a real fundamental question. Why is it a health department issue? Well, let's look at the explanation on the introductory page of your document. Not today. Today, you're indicating you're modifying a previous document. But on your initial first page explaining why we're doing it, it says, whereas the board deems the following regulations are necessary to protect and promote the public health and safety. I have trouble not laughing when I read that. The fact is you are attempting to regulate a problem that doesn't exist. Since the basis in my original thought was that really this entire project should be canceled. But in any event, I think that in your documents, I think you need to clearly delineate that septic tanks are not a health problem and that septic tanks do not apparently produce an environmentally associated health problem. That is an important thing to say. That's quite in contrast to your introductory statement of the statement, up till today, wherein you said that this was basically a public health and safety problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have these, I guess I can drop this thing off. I don't know if you're using the old draft or not, but I just had some verbiage that I would change in that regard.
Yeah, feel free to share that with us if you have it that you could leave behind. Okay, anyone else like to speak? Seeing no one else. Oh, one more? Okay.
Good morning. My name is Thomas Stone. I live at 2834 South Torrey Pines Drive, Las Vegas, Nevada. First of all, I'd like to make a comment that I'd like to compliment the Las Vegas Water District for doing something. They had a proposal where they would pay 85% up to $40,000 to have people convert to sewer from septics. I understand that program has been successful, as several of my neighbors have used it and connected up to the sewer line. Now, that being said, we're coming up to this $40,000. Okay, according to the board members, I think it was the county board members, they mentioned that the cost to connect up the sewer was $400 per foot. Most homeowners that are in a half-acre parcel or an acre parcel or whatever, they would cost them $40,000, strange number, $40,000 to take their house and get out to the street property line as you're requiring. That closest property line, 400 foot from there. $40,000 would be the cost to run a sewer line 100 feet. So that figured out, let's go dollars and cents. You're 100 foot away, costs $40,000. There's neighbors of mine that are over 1,000 feet away. Your mandates saying if their septic tank fails, they have to get a permit, they sell their house, you come in and tell them that they're mandated to hook up the sewer. There should be no mandates whatsoever at the homeowner's expense, because what you're doing is devaluing those homes. The farther you are away from the sewer line, the more your house is depreciated. I sell my house, or anybody in here sells their house that's on a septic tank. That person buys the house, you divulge to them you're on a septic tank, but you don't divulge the cost to connect up to that sewer line. They come back and sue the seller of that house, and they will win. What would they win? $100,000, $400,000 to the seller of the home? You're putting exceptional burdens upon the homeowners of the septic tanks. That being said, there should be no mandates at the homeowner's expense, no matter what. Voluntarily, that's why I'm commending the Water District for coming up with some kind of a program to help people connect up to the sewer lines. The people that are on septic tanks, most of them don't know where the sewer line is. Why don't we get an information out there to the people out in the septic tanks? This is how far you're away. Here are your options. You're going to volunteer, have the health district or the water district pay part of the money. You volunteer to pay that $40,000, connect up in the street. Some people won't pay a dime. But let's get some programs going on that'll help the homeowner and also help us connect up to the sewer line to feed the water back into the lake. The first meeting I went to on this was at the Water District. And the homeowners responded by saying, well, if we have a septic tank, the water goes in the septic tank, through the leach field, down into the water table. And we were told, oh, no, no, no. That water never reaches the water table. The next meeting we go to, oh, that water that's going into the water table is contaminating it. Now, there's no proof either way. So you're going to tell us this, you're going to tell us that, and then you start blowing smoke about $250 a year for your service or your inspections. What I'm saying, there should be no mandates at the cost of the homeowner. You want to satisfy all the homeowners, put a cap on it. Homeowners should have a cap on their cost to connect up to the sewer. And that cap should be no more than the cost of replacing or repairing their septic system. Give that as an option. You're telling the homeowners, well, we're going to make you hook up if something goes wrong. If your septic tank's not up to standards. If you put your septic tank in 1980, 1990, 1970, it's no longer up to standards. So what are you going to do? Make those people connect up to sewer at their expense? Give us a break, will you? Put a cap on this. Delete the mandates and get people to voluntarily, if they can afford it, hook up. People that can't afford it, help them out. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our second public comment. Again,
Chair Black?
yes.
Pardon me, this is Andrea. We did receive written comments in the emails and by mail, so they will be added to the record as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So I would just like to restate my appreciation for you being here. I was at the meeting Tuesday. I've been at this meeting every month talking about this matter since, I believe, October. So I appreciate Ms. Reynolds' comment. It was very brief and poignant about the use of the word stakeholder. Let me tell you exactly what I mean. The definition of stakeholder is a person or group that has an investment, share, or interest in something. That is you folks. That is us up here on the board. We have a mutual interest in our community and how it affects you, what we do and how it affects you. This is a process that we are engaged in. It is an active process. You folks are part of the process. The comments that were made today are part of the record, are noted, and this will continue to be refined, and we'll get to a point that satisfies the intent of the health district, but also I believe will be fair and equitable to the community. So I just want to thank you for saying that, because I truly mean you folks are stakeholders, I'm a stakeholder, and we can work through this together. So thank you for being here today, and this meeting is adjourned.
It's